Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, just go ahead and leave a 5-star review. It just takes a few clicks. I'm going to read this review from Lindy Rose. 5 stars and a kissy face. Chrissie's pod makes me feel like the fun part of life still exists somewhere out there. I have abandoned all social interactions for the time being and will be living vicariously through her show until further notice. Thank you for being more than a dabbler in podcasting. We need you. Oh, thanks, Lindy Rose. That sounds a little sad, like she's not going outside, but it's all good. See, just go and leave a review. I want to talk about a couple of dates coming up for me. I'm going to be headlining Tiff's Ale House in Morris Plains, New Jersey. It's also known as the Dojo, also known as Tiff's Comedy Club. So that's Wednesday, October 21st. Bob Levy will be hosting. Mike Figgs will be featuring. So that's for all my New Jersey peeps. If you live in Brooklyn or New York, I'm going to be headlining at this, I think it's kind of a new stand-up New York location out in Coney Island. That's Thursday, November 12th, and those tickets can be purchased per car, so you can split it with whoever's in your car. Definitely come to that one because that's going to be like my birthday show, and there's probably going to be like an after hang somewhere, but you know, like nothing annoying, not like a birthday week, just the day. Or maybe 2 days. I'm so excited to talk about my sponsors. I'm wearing this shirt right now, Silk City Hot Sauce. I just slept in it, woke up. Here I am. Go to Silk City Hot Sauce, use promo code CMP. You're going to get 15% off your entire order. This is the mango habanero. They've got tons of really great flavors, so just check out the website. You'll definitely find something you like, but you have to refrigerate it after you open it. I learned that the hard way. Go to Silk City Hot Sauce, use the promo code CMP, get some spice in your life, get some hotness going. I love these guys, and since they love you so much, they're gonna throw in for free a bottle of cherry sriracha and some dope stickers. So use the promo code CMP for 15% off your order. You know what else is hot? Blue Chew. I meant to say sex, but woo, we're doing it, Jim. Let's talk about something we all need more of, not just sex, but great sex. Fellas, now you can increase your confidence and get that extra performance in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. That's blue like the color blue. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. You can take them any time of day or night on a full stomach, whenever. You can really just take it whenever. If you feel like you're just going to get some, just take it. And ladies, you can get in on this too. Get some for your man. Blue Chew is made here in the USA. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to a doctor. You don't have to wait in line. It's cheaper than a pharmacy. They prepare it and ship it right to your door in a discreet package. There's no awkwardness. You don't have to leave your house. If you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. And right now we have a special deal. Go to BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free when you use the promo code CMP. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's Blue, BLUE. Chew.com. Use the promo code CMP. Try it for free. I'm so excited to have this guy on the pod today. He's been on Wet Spot. He is someone I've been a fan of for a very, very long time. He is a stand-up comic and the host of Everybody's Awful Except You on Barstool Sports. You can see him headline October 22nd at Zanies in Rosemont, Illinois, October 23rd at McHenry's at the Downtown Theater in McHenry's, Illinois, and also November 6th and 7th at Uncle Vinny's in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. It's Jim Florentine. How are you?
What's going on? How you doing?
Good to see you. How have you been holding up? It's good to see you. Like, you're getting gigs. This is what's great, because it's at this point, if you're a comic and you're like, well, everything's been canceled, and if you haven't gotten any gigs in the last, few months, then it's like, all right, COVID may have canceled you entirely.
Yeah, I've been, doing a lot of outdoor shows. I'm in New Jersey or New York, so whatever outdoor show, anywhere I could perform under a tree, wherever, just to get up and do sets.
Yeah.
And, I did a road gig last weekend in Ohio. It was the first time I got on a plane since March.
Whoa.
To do a gig, and I'm doing these ones in Chicago, and then I'll feel it out afterwards. If I feel comfortable going back out there.
How was it like?
Kind of like a trial run.
Yeah. Did you feel a little nervous getting on a plane?
A little bit, but my brother-in-law flies like 3 times a week with his job, and he's like, it's safe. No one's really getting it on a plane. You're not hearing stories. The media would love to say Delta flight to Florida got 17 coronavirus cases. So, But that's not happening, which is good. But then, you got to get an Uber at the airport, then you're at the club and all, there's a lot of factors involved. So I'll do these one more run and then I'll see what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Are you overall like kind of nervous about catching it, or you feel like not so much?
I'm in the middle pretty much, it's, in the summertime and stuff like that, I wasn't, but now, it's cases are coming up a little more, but no one's dying from it. That's the thing. Hardly anyone is. And, when you get 74-year-old, the president gets it, and Chris Christie, and a 91-year-old college coach, Bobby Bowden, got it. He's okay. So, there's medicine, all that stuff for it. So,
So a young, healthy lad like yourself, I mean, you have nothing to worry about. Yeah. I mean, look at Trump.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned, but I don't want to catch it. And then I feel like an idiot if I was traveling and got back home and I caught it. I'd feel stupid. Like I could have avoided that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Like you just might as well.
Like the strip club's open. And I'm like, you know what? If I go in there and I catch it in a strip club, that's a stupid move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, man, all that for a socially distanced lap dance. You know what I mean? Like I had to wear a tarp over me.
I think they're doing them right on top of the guys too. I don't think they're distancing themselves at all.
Yeah, I think if I were a stripper, I would be like, you know what? It's enough is enough already. You got to start making money at some point. So you're like, let's do this. Just I bet you would just be like, well, okay, this guy's not coughing. Maybe I'll just go all the way.
You were talking about Blue Chew and stuff before. I'm always curious from a woman's perspective. Do you take it as an insult if your man is taking a Cialis bag or a Blue Chew?
I don't think so. I think I would be flattered because I'd be like, ooh, they definitely want to make sure that sex is had tonight, which is kind of cool. It's like, I think I would take it as a compliment.
Because you get the other perspective, like, oh, well, you're not attracted to me. You can't get a hard on and you have to take this pill because you're not attracted to me anymore. You get that. So a lot of guys have to hide it from their wives. I always tell a guy, take your wife away for the weekend and take a Cialis.
Yes.
Work on your relationship or your marriage and, just fuck all weekend in a hotel room.
That would be great. That would be fantastic. Yeah.
But then the woman takes it, a lot of them take it personally.
Like you need a pill to get hard for me.
Up for me. You're not attracted to me anymore. That's the thing. So a lot of guys have to hide it.
I hope guys don't feel that way because just like it's hard for women to come sometimes because of anxiety or stress or whatever, I think the same applies to guys. Plus, if you've been drinking, there's so many things that can kill a boner. I don't know. I think it would be kind of lame to give a guy shit for taking any kind of male enhancement pill,
Yeah. And it only makes it better too. What I mean? So it's like, but I can understand. I don't know if a woman had a pill where she would get more turned on. I wouldn't. I'm like, good. Takes the pressure off of me.
Yeah, a pill or just 5 drinks.
Exactly.
No, it just takes a couple drinks. Have you ever taken like a Blue Chew, Jim?
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel?
Oh, they're great. I mean, it's for a guy, it's good. It's like, you can last longer. You can go, recover quicker.
That sounds great. I imagine you're just doing push-ups with no hands. Yeah, I would take it as a huge compliment. I'd be like, okay, awesome. We're going to do this. We're not going to fall asleep. We're not going to order a pizza, eat the whole thing, and then be too bloated to bang. So, yeah. So the last time we spoke, I think the new season of Crank Yankers was either coming out or was about to be released. That was how many months ago?
Like a year ago, September, late September, I think was the premiere episode.
Okay, that's insane. I can't believe how long ago that was. How did it do? Did you get a sense of the reception? If, the fans were still there? How do you feel like that went over?
No, supposedly the ratings are great. They put it on right after a brand new South Park episode. They made sure that they only put it on, which is great. So it was a great lead into the show and picked up for another season. So it got good ratings. And then, at some point, I don't know when, we're going to be able to record again. We're up for another season, which Comedy Central got rid of pretty much every show on there, canceled everything, but our show's still going, which is great. I get one more season out of it. It's great. It pays my health insurance through SAG, which is fucking beautiful.
Ooh, that is great.
You have to make a certain amount and then you can get free, basically super cheap health insurance. And it's really good too.
Oh yeah, it's a whole like I don't know. To me, at first I thought it was like a racket because I was just doing a lot of background work, and I noticed there was a real divide between like the union and non-union extras and background people. And like I was always non-union, and the union extras thought they were hot shit. They were like they would just go on craft services first, and we would eat their scraps, and it was like it seemed like all these hoops to jump through to be union, and then you have to maintain it and pay your dues. So it's like I think if you're any kind of an actor and you can keep that up, I think it means you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of that extra work too. Yeah, and you get treated like you're just a bunch of cattle.
Oh my gosh, if you
It's
really are,
terrible.
they really throw you like meat scraps and you all have to jump. You're like, can you just put this on a plate or something? And like,
I know, like 75 bucks or 100 bucks for the day or whatever.
oh my
There was a
God.
couple times I had a whole system down where I would sign in. I remember doing a Visa commercial in a stadium in like Randall Island, and I'd signed in and I just took off, and I had my friend who would always do extra work just sign me out. So I signed in and just left and got paid for the day, and then he just forged my name and signed me out. So I would do that in a bunch of shoots. I'm like, fuck this, I ain't hanging out for 12 hours for
Yeah.
100 bucks, 75
Fuck
bucks,
you,
like the Visa
Visa.
system.
Oh yeah, I did it once. It was like, oh, it was all night long. We were shot in a subway. Like it was like the 42nd Street near where the shuttle is. And we were down there from like 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was crazy. Like we just didn't take any food breaks or anything like that. It just, we lost all sense of time. And I think our scene was cut from the movie. And I was like, that's it. I'm not.
But in the
my,
beginning of your career, it's like, wow, I'm in a Visa commercial. I might be shown or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, all right, this is cool. And it's a way to actually make extra money if you're barely making any in stand up. So I would do a lot of that shit.
yeah, it's a good, like, it's a good supplement at first. And then it's just like, you have to either progress or get out of it because I think it'll ruin your self
Yeah.
esteem. So your show on Barstool Sports, Everybody's Awful Except You, is that, because didn't you write a book by the same
Yeah.
title?
The book was basically based on the podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
So it's
that
the
was
other way around.
Yeah, yeah. So it used to be called something else. I switched the name to Everybody's Awful, but it's basically that's my podcast. It's just people from the podcast listeners send in like social media shit that they know I would hate, like pumpkin
Really?
spiced, Fritos or whatever fuck it is, and then I just make fun of this stuff. Bad Facebook posts, people brag and making up lies. Those people that make up lies.
Oh, yeah. I'm
I just read
familiar.
one yesterday. Some guy wrote, I was watching a vice president debate with my 6-year-old daughter, and she's like, Daddy, who is this sexist man, yelling at this woman, this innocent woman? Isn't that what misogyny is all about? He goes, and we both just started crying. Yeah, okay, a
Oh
6-year-old
my
is going to go, who's
God.
this sexist man? Is this
No 6-year-old talks like that. That's
I know, and
fucking
no
insane.
6-year-old watching a fucking vice president debate. Even the adults didn't want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible. I forget what reporter it was, but he was maybe it was Jake Tapper, and he was like just telling an aside story. He was like, "Oh yeah, I had a friend who was texting me same shit, like the daughter was maybe in 6th grade or something, or she was like 11, and then she started crying and ran to her bedroom, and I'm like, "No, she probably was crying because you're making her watch a debate. Like they're horrible."
And that didn't happen either because this guy probably saw Jake Tapper say that. So then he had his own version of his daughter crying. Oh, they both wept. They both wept in each other's arms after she said, "Is this what
Oh my
misogyny is all
God.
about?" It's funny how all of a sudden you're not allowed to, talk over a woman or talk back. Like then you're a sexist pig. Like
It's
a
such a
woman's running
trap.
for office, you're in the fucking game. It's just too bad. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to take criticism, and if a guy, God forbid, he goes, "No, you're wrong," but no, that talks over it, then you're a sexist. It's crazy.
Yep. It's a trick. It's all a trick. It's all tricks and traps. Like with Kamala the other day with with Pence with the vice presidential debate. She would be like done with a sentence. She would like pause, and then he would start talking, and then she'd be like, "I'm speaking." And her little that was everybody's big takeaway. Like, wow, she's so strong and brave. She stood up to misogyny. She stood up to this guy who was interrupting her. And like it was like that and The Fly. Like that was the left's entire takeaway of the
Yeah.
debates. When everybody else is like, "Oh no, Pence clearly won. Like he clearly had better points."
It's
Uh,
amazing though that you can't that and meanwhile, you see the Supreme Court stuff going on, and she's a woman, and these men Democrats are like, hey, dude, and like, wait, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that, remember? You're not supposed
Mm-hmm.
to talk down to a woman. That's sexist, but they don't know how to, because they don't buy that bullshit either.
If you're in this arena, if you're in politics, same thing. Like if you choose to go into certain areas of work, I feel like comedy is one of them, or politics, it's like, yeah, you're all on an even playing field, and there shouldn't be, you can't be asked to like be treated like a lady in some senses, but then not in others. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. I feel like they're just kind of using it to fit their motive, like when it's convenient for them. Yeah, I thought that was fucking crazy. And Amy Coney Barrett, she really like kept her cool. I was really impressed with just how chill and unflappable she was, and like people were saying great like crazy shit to her, and she just was like listening. And it's amazing, like you can't even roll your eyes, like all these cameras are on you when you're in that kind of a like public position.
I was waiting for her for them to come out that her college boyfriend was passed out one night and she hopped on top of him and fucked him.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to. He was passed out. They were breaking up. He said the relationship was over, and she forced himself. I was waiting. It still could.
It still could happen.
You never know.
There could be like a soy boy or a soy man who comes out and goes, well, yeah, this very nice lady in a coordinated skirt and jacket took advantage. She jerked me off in my sleep.
And I didn't want it, and she grabbed my dick when I was sleeping, and I rolled over, and I said no, and she grabbed it. She kept grabbing it because she wanted me to have sex when I didn't want it. I could see that they might still have that one coming.
And then she made me a sandwich after, and she made me tea. Yeah, because she looks just like a nice lady. She's like just a nice mom. So, I mean, I think that was a pretty good pick because she's like, I don't know. I could never do it. And
they can't get her on because she adopted 2 black kids, so they can't even get her on that.
Wow,
so she's a woman, with 7 kids, married a long time, and she adopted 2 kids from Haiti when they had the big earthquake over there.
Oh,
so
wow.
they're like, fuck, what are we gonna get her on? I mean, she's a woman, but she's white. Maybe we can go after that. But then she adopted 2, so we can't say she's racist.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They like to bring up that she's pro-life, and well, you're not gonna let that affect your decision making. And she's like, no. They were asking her all these hypotheticals, and she was good. I mean, like, basically, if you can just not get emotional and not roll your eyes, like, you're winning. So I give those guys credit, because I just feel like there's so many people that are coming after comics, and it's our job and it's our art to be expressive and say what's on our minds and not filter everything. Like, yeah, we curse, we tell it like it is, and I feel like we leave ourselves more vulnerable for the kind of like canceling or the backlash. And I know, like, you're a part of a really great group of comics who came up, it's Rich Voss, it's like Jim Norton, just this great sort of class of comics who came up at the same time, who kind of just, all of you are known for not giving a fuck and also just being extremely good at what you do. How does it feel, like, kind of, do you ever look at sort of the classes of comics under you, or like, I imagine, like, what to you are like the up and comers, and just, do you ever just go, oh my God, like, what the fuck is happening to comedy?
I always root for all comics. I try to help young comics. A lot of guys that were headliners helped me when I first started. So I always, said, I got to pay that back. And I always encouraging the young comics. I'll sit with them and talk to them about, give them some advice. But I don't understand the whole comics trying to get other comics in trouble. That's fucking pathetic. I mean, that's when you got enough people coming at you, everywhere else. And now comics don't even stick up for each other. Who cares if you like what they say? I don't like what a lot of people say I never get offended if anybody says, but just that you're not sticking up for your own kind when it could come back and hit you too if you set this precedent, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one comic says something, all the comics attack them. Okay, if you're going to set that precedent, then you might say something at some point, and then you're going to get fucked with. That's what you're doing.
Right. It's like we all kind of take turns, like we're all going to get banged for it at some point. So you might as well embrace like free speech for everybody in this field.
Right. I don't understand the whole comics not sticking up for each other. That never happened when I started. That never happened until like 5 years ago, where people started telling on each other all of a sudden,
I feel like, Jim, you kind of mansplained that a little bit. Yeah,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
I know.
understand your
God forbid
point.
a guy tries to express his point. I know that too. And then
That
the one guy that stands for the national anthem has to have a press conference on why he stood. It's like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. If I were a dude, that would piss me off so much. Like anytime you just try to say anything, you get shut down. Up, no, you're mansplaining. Up, you're talking to a woman. That means you're misogynist. And holy shit, it's like they're just creating a
That's
lot
why
of
I don't
roadblocks.
care. Like that's why I do my podcast. I do stand up. I we're at the show on Crank Yankers where we just make prank calls. But other than that, I pretty much control everything I do, and I don't give a fuck. Like I'm not gonna kowtow. I never did. I would have moved to LA, 20 years ago if I really wanted to play that game. I never played the game. I just do what I think is funny. If you don't like it, too fucking bad. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there's a million other comics out there. I've never worried about that stuff.
Has anyone ever? Because I know, like you'll come on Compound Media shows. I have you been on any of the Gas Digital shows? I mean, or been a guest? Because I know that like now it's like a lot of, it seems like the woke comics are kind of coming after like Gas Digital and Compound. And I know that your show is on Barstool Sports. Like have you personally, or has Barstool faced like any kind of a backlash or cancel threats?
Well, Barstool gets attacked all the time because they just try to be funny. They're sports and hot chicks, and they're not politically correct. So the press hates that. The media hates that. They anti-ESPN. Nobody watches ESPN anymore, and everyone goes on Barstool Sports. Here's the hot chick of the day. Here's the hot chick of the week. Here's funny sports stories, stuff like that. So they haven't actually come after me, but no, I do shows on Gas Digital. Louis J. Gomez's show. I've done, Legion of Skanks and stuff. Godfrey's show, and Compound Media. Don Jamieson's one of my best friends, so I go on Anthony's show every few months or whatever. So I was almost working over there at some point. So no, I love stuff like that. You need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love how, the Legion of Skanks, they just, Gas Digital, build their own audience. I did Skankfest last year in Brooklyn. It was unbelievable.
How
It
was that?
inspiring.
Yeah, because I haven't been to one yet, but I've heard people say, "Oh, it's misogynistic," but these are all the people that aren't funny enough to get booked on it. It's funny how that works out.
No, it's great. And they built in their own fan base, and they're passionate. It almost reminds me like the old days of Opie and Anthony, their fan base, and Howard Stern. So it's great to see that.
Yeah, so it does. So the fan bases of like Gas Digital and Compound do remind you of those old like style, like truly comedy loving audiences.
Yeah,
or
and they come out to
fans.
shows and they support and they listen to your podcast and all that other stuff. That's what we want.
Yeah, for sure. So that's really interesting because I know that Dave Portnoy is kind of a very outspoken Trump supporter. Does that, and I'm sure, I think a lot of people come after him for that. Does that kind of trickle down to everybody else's shows? Like, do you get shit for being kind of associated with him?
I don't care. People can give me shit. I don't give a, I'm associated to Opie and Anthony. I'm associated to Anthony, Opie, Howard Stern. So all good, just, people that are edgy and stuff like that. And I love that. I'm like, if you don't, so I never really catch it. You know what I mean? If somebody shows up Barstool, it's a huge company, they just decide, so I just do my podcast on their platform. So I don't catch any shit. And most people that wouldn't listen to Barstool, but that don't know about me wouldn't like it. So I just play to my audience, people that like my stuff. So I don't worry about the outs. I never did. Like I always remembered, like coming up, people, call the comments like, "Oh, my agent's telling me not to be edgy anymore because that's not what they wanted." So I'm going to not be edgy anymore. I go, "Why are you listening to that fucking asshole?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, you're going to go on, you're going to go on Letterman one time. I go, "You're not going to sell tickets on the road on one appearance, to take all the edge off your act. Because if it doesn't play on TV, people aren't going to come see you live."
Yeah. Do you feel like the late night spots? I mean, and now of course we're in like COVID time, so all the rules are different, but I was starting to feel like the late night spots weren't giving comics as much juice as they once did. And like you said, like you're not going to fill rooms off of one late night appearance. So it's
I did
almost
a
like
late night show a few years back when we plugged like the Funny Bone in St. Louis, and I asked every show how many people saw me on there. 3 people over the course of 6 shows raised their hand.
what?
And this was like probably 15 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's not, going on a radio show, like a big show like Opie and Anthony or Howard Stern back in the day, where they got to build it. Those are the people that are going to come out, the local radio morning show. And that's how you build a following in the cities. And that's ultimately what you want as a comic, that people come see you, so you don't have to weed out all those fucking babies that might cry.
Yeah, that's really amazing that you say even 15 years ago it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, so it wasn't even
nobody.
I don't know anyone that watches any late night show now.
No,
even for the last 3-4 years, ever since the election. Now they're all political. You know what I mean? They all got the same Trump. Trump is bad joke. It's like a Polish joke. What did Trump do at the end? And they're all doing the same exact monologue. You can't even tell which show this joke came from. So. And they really lost a lot of their audience. So, but this was 15 years ago where people still kind of watch late night. That was a problem.
And that's the thing is, like, I think places like Barstool Sports and Compound Media and Gas all really thrive because, like, the icky side of politics has crept into like SNL and late night shows, and it's crept into ESPN. So it's like Barstool's getting the sports people that are like, oh, hey, I just don't want to hear about this stuff. I just want to like enjoy sports, comedy, whatever. So it's almost like people are leaving. They're leaving the places where they would normally, watch.
Yeah, and Dave Portnoy's not really a big, like, he interviewed Trump, which is a big deal for the company. You know what I mean? Like, you can, whoever was president, would have been a big deal.
Oh yeah.
But he doesn't. They don't really talk politics at Barstool. We just kind of hey, let's make it fun and be funny, and entertain people.
Yeah.
They don't want to get in those wars. Everybody else is doing it. So the company pretty much stays away from it, even though we did land that interview with them, which was pretty cool. And it was like a funny interview, and stuff like that. So it wasn't, wasn't all, what's your policy on, immigration and shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll interview huge people. And I mean, he'll have like huge gets, but they're just like talking about pizza. He's not like asking hard questions. It's just fun.
And he's a businessman. Eventually he's like, when are we going to open the country at least a little? You got to be kidding me. We can't just close it forever. You know what I mean? He's like, he's like, I want to make money. Everybody does. And everybody's suffering. Let's fucking figure this out. And the media doesn't want to hear that. They don't want to hear a guy saying, let's open everything up.
Right. Because the media, their jobs are secure because if they keep people afraid, then they're going to keep clicking and tuning in. So it's almost like they're kind of exempt. And then like the super elite politicians are also kind of exempt because it's like, well, their jobs are still there. It's super fucked up.
They're making full salaries working at home. So they're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they can bitch all they want, It's
fucking nuts. And, yeah, you mentioned Howard because you were a regular on Howard Stern, and I know that he's renewing a new Sirius contract. I think he's going to get like 120 million for his new contract. And lots of people have said over the years, Howard's become like increasingly more politically correct. He kowtows to celebrities. He's kind of like lost his spunk. Do you attribute that to just this is what happens when you make more money? Or do you feel like he kind of truly sold out and lost himself?
I don't know. Look, he's older and it's like, what? The guy was an amazing rebel for years, for 30 years, broke every barrier, helped comics out, you know what I mean? And just broke down a lot of doors and, made raunchy comedy and stuff like that, almost mainstream, where people listen to their cars every day. So if he's older at 66 or 67 and he wants to change his show, I got no problem with it. You know what I mean?
That's true. You can't be
I don't feel like fighting anymore. And I just want to do my show and maybe I want to hang out with, a celebrity that lives in the Hamptons. I don't know. I got no problem with it. He gave me 30 years of amazing radio, whatever it was.
Wow.
So maybe his show's changed a little, but he's like you said, he's 66, 67 years old.
That's true.
You're mellow at that age.
That's true. It's like maybe people are expecting, him as a person to just never change, right? Like you're in your 60s, you're not going to be like, let's see some strippers play Twister or whatever. Your likes will change. And
yeah, he's not hanging out at Scores and, he's at 66, he's not talking about farts anymore.
Yeah, he's just got a lot of cats.
Big part of the show and shit like that. He's like, So
yeah, that's interesting. Well, how did you get on to start doing Howard?
I just had a prank call CD in my phone
Really?
calls. Like when I was messing with like telemarketers, I would record them, and I just put a CD out. I didn't even have a label or anything. I just put it out to maybe sell my shows,
Wow.
maybe get people to know my name. And I, basically Don Jamieson helped me get it to that Stern show because he knew the producer, and he goes, "All right, if this is funny, we'll play it." And I'm like, "He's never gonna play it. There's no way." And the next day he started playing this. Like, holy shit, who's this guy? We got to get
Wow.
him on the show. And like a month later, I was on the show and became a regular for like 6, 7 years.
So they just started playing the CD you gave them
Yeah.
live on the air.
That I put out myself. It wasn't on a record label. I just got them produced by some
Wow.
place in Jersey. I put like 12 calls on there, these telemarketers I was fucking with. And then he started playing it. And it was
That's
all
what,
clean too, because there was no cursing on it.
that's awesome.
And he started playing it.
Do you remember any of those, the early telemarketers? Do you remember like what companies they were from or anything like that? Like what they were calling about?
A lot of long distance, when long distance, for 5 cents a minute, when that
Mhm.
whole, remember your phone bill used to be like $400 a month. I remember when I first started doing comedy, because I'd always have to call bookers
Right, right.
around the country, and Chicago, at 2 in the afternoon. And I'm like, fuck, this call's going to cost me like $13 if I'm on the phone for like 10 minutes.
It's like you better book me at least to cover the cost of this call.
Yeah, so it was a lot of that, and just colleges. Anyway, I would answer the phone to whoever called. I would just go, "Yeah, this is me," even if it was a wrong number or the guy used to have that phone number. I'd answer anything and just mess with them.
Do you still mess with, because I personally get a ton of telemarketers like right now. I don't know how they all got my number, but do you ever fuck with people that currently call you, like any current telemarketing calls you get?
Not on my cell phone. I did hook up my house phone during the
Mhm.
coronavirus. I'm like, I might well start working on some new calls. So I hooked up my phone line, which I didn't even have a home phone line. So I have the phone rings like 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh, all
Still
right. That's
trying
not
to sell
bad.
you shit. So I'm still fucking around. We'll see what happens. I was
That's
bored.
good.
I'm stuck inside for months. So
Oh yeah, we got to do whatever we can to not go crazy. But that's interesting, because you mentioned Don Jamieson, because you did a show with Don Jamieson and Eddie Trunk called That Metal Show, and it ran from 2008 to 2015. And I know it's inspired like both you and Don a lot. Like I don't know Eddie, but I know that like Don's show that he has on Compound Media, it's very much inspired by That Metal Show. Would you guys entertain the idea of coming back? And if so, like what would it take?
yeah, we'd love to. When you don't own the show, you really don't have too much say in it. Like Crank Yankers was off the air. We're off the air in 2007. And then in 2019, 12 years later, it came back out of nowhere. It's like, holy shit. So it's all up to the network, the people who own it. We could do a different
Mhm.
version of it, and not call it That Metal Show. We're allowed to do that. But, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if there's any interest out there. We've tried before. There wasn't seem like there was. But you never know. Maybe when this shit's over, there might be a home for it, a streaming service or something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Like if there's just like some gigantic kind of even bigger than Compound, bigger than Gas, bigger than Barstool. Like I don't know. I think it would be cool to see kind of all of these networks come together, especially yesterday with the whole, big news with the Twitter censorship. Like Twitter was censoring big time the New York Post article about like Biden, Hunter Biden's laptop. And it's like, we all know the censorship is going on, but like when there's such a big story that hits the mainstream news, it just, it's definitely scary, cause you're like, oh, wow, it's how easily we can be censored. And, if they don't like, if a platform doesn't like something that you're saying, how quickly you can just be gone, like
My hope is, and I was saying it a while ago, I'm hoping that there's some, because it's all coming out of, Silicon Valley in Northern California. It's all these tech nerds, you know what I mean, that are liberal, that grew up like that. So, and they know how to fucking rig things. So I'm
yeah,
just
it's the
hoping, like,
algorithm.
if Joe Biden's the president, and then they're going to completely rig stuff, you'll never see that. Some conservative nerds out there, some young conservative nerds, will start their own platforms. So you could just go over there. Anything you want to read, they can post over there, and they won't censor you. That's what I'm hoping will happen.
Yeah, I mean, it
Just
is.
so everyone's voice doesn't get buried. I don't care. I'll read both sides. I got no problem. But don't bury one side, and it's so obvious.
It is so obvious. And there is, there is Parler, which is kind of supposed to be like the free speech
Yeah,
Twitter,
that might
but
catch on.
yeah, it's very slowly catching on. It's not as, sexy. It's not as good looking as Twitter. It's not as easy to use. But I do like your point about like, yeah, where are the conservative nerds? Like now is your
There's
time.
got to be a few that know how to build a whole big tech company, and just go, hey, you could do whatever you want over here to replace YouTube, Google, Twitter, Facebook, and shit like that are censoring people. I mean, now, like, I see podcasts, they can't even curse on YouTube because then they can't get any money. It's like, that's what YouTube was about. So now you can't even curse.
Oh yeah, it's especially some episodes I've done on this show with different people. We talk about like different conspiracy stuff, or I've had porn stars. Like some of the guests I've had, they've been really good. They won't even say certain words. I mean, whatever, fuck it. They won't say like virus. They won't say COVID. Now that I've said both those things, probably to get banged, but it's fine. Like they really know the ways around it, and they'll write up the episode. Like they'll leave certain words out because YouTube can not only like listen to like, I've uploaded episodes that are like before I've even written any details, it says limited ads, and it's like, oh, it's because they can screen your voice and what you talk about. It's like, it's pretty fucking crazy.
Unbelievable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's happening? Like, so even the internet is getting censored. Like the internet was supposed to be do whatever the fuck you want. Don't put kiddie porn on, but pretty much everything else you could do whatever you want.
But now that's all over Twitter. Yeah.
Now you can't say the word fuck or a coronavirus on YouTube because they're going to censor it. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's pretty scary. Like I mean, did you see any kind of comedy or any kind of censorship like that? Like when you were starting out, or is this all just like, yeah.
None of it. The only censorship was coming from the colleges. You had to be clean. And if you were a white male, they were really going to, watch what you had to say. So I barely did any college. I did a few in the beginning. And then I just like, this isn't me. I don't want to write an act for these fucking kids. And I don't want to be PC where I got to, to make $750, which was good money at the time to do a college. You have to do an hour, but how the fuck are you going to do an hour when you barely could say what you want? The black guy could go in there and say whatever he wants, do race material, do sex stuff. But as soon as a white guy went in, they would withhold your pay. You can't say. I got in trouble one time for saying the word chick because they said I was
chick.
Yeah. They said I was sexist. They withheld my pay. That was like the first college I did.
Do you remember what college it was?
It was like a SUNY purchase in like outside Albany or whatever. I remember that they said he was sexist.
Do you remember how long ago that was?
It was like 95.
Oh my God, that early? Wow.
Well, the college campus has always been like that. The PC, they won't let certain speakers, Ann Coulter and stuff like that, speak at these colleges, and Ben Shapiro and shit. They fucking have riots out front. Like, who cares? Just don't go see it. That's always been my thing. Like whatever you're into is fine. If you don't like it, just don't watch it or don't go see it. Like, why are you protesting? Somebody else might like it. Like, what the fuck is the big deal?
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's really crazy. Like, and college is supposed to be the place where your mind is supposed to be expanding. You're supposed to get into stuff you weren't going to get in if you had stayed home or if you just took a regular job. So it seems so counter to the point of college and higher education. But then there's, people who believe that higher education has been like completely taken over, like that these certain messages are kind of like creeping into academia. So it's definitely not a good time. I'm happy to not be in college right now. I feel like it would suck really bad. And
I mean, I think what all comics just need to do is just build your own following and just play to your audience, and don't worry about trying to make it in Hollywood, because then you have to completely sell out. You know what I mean? And whatever you need to say, you got to post on Twitter because everybody else is. You could see it. You see right through it. They all got the same tweets. You know what I mean? Like, if I have to stay in Hollywood, then I gotta think this way. Let me put this out there. They don't fucking know.
Did you ever get pressure from like an agent or like other comedians to kind of like change your voice or, be less edgy at any point?
No, because my manager, I've had for a long time is Jim Norton's manager. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he saw me because I was working with Jim. So if he's not, he's obviously not going to censor Jim.
Yeah.
So he's not going to censor me. No, so he knows. He's like, look, this is what it is. This is what, he knows
Yeah.
that me and Jim weren't going to play the game.
That's good. It's really good to find somebody that gets you. Like, that's the best kind of management to have. But yeah, not to. So like if there's younger comics listening right now, your advice would be, and I agree, like just work on yourself. And if you stay true to your own voice, like your people, your fans will find you.
They'll
And
find you, exactly. And it's just like, I always said that even when I first started, I'm like, what does it make a difference at the end of my career if I have a 8-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom house? Like,
it's more
how
to
is it going to
clean.
make it
Yeah.
any better? I don't have fucking 8 people to fill those bedrooms, so who gives a shit? Like, I never worried about that stuff. And that's what I was on. I got to compromise my whole career just so I can have a mansion instead of just a decent house. At the end, like, who cares about it? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, and then you've got to keep it up. Like you got to changing your
Right.
voice, and you're like, all right, well, I got to keep reading stuff that's gonna that'll support this new voice. And I think ultimately it's gonna come across like inauthentic, which the audience, like the true woke people, are gonna be like, hey, they don't. It doesn't sound like they believe what they're saying. I don't know. I just feel like it would be impossible to keep that
Look,
up long term.
you got to change your act over the course of time. Like some shit that people don't laugh at anymore, which they used to, like fat jokes. The crowds used to always laugh at fat jokes, even if you weren't a fat guy delivering them. They just don't laugh at them anymore.
Why?
So I
Because
just
more
don't
people
do
are
it.
fat.
I don't know what it is. It just completely changed, and they just don't go anywhere. So I just knew to take them out. I used to have a bunch of fat jokes I do over my career, whatever, and they just don't let. So I just say, okay, I just won't do that anymore. I'm not censoring myself, but I'm like, that shit doesn't work, and I can move on, no problem.
Yeah, that's
And
not
certain work,
censorship. It's you just like adjusting.
I'm just
Yeah.
adjusting. So it's not like, I sold out or anything. I'm just like, this shit doesn't work anymore. So I'll talk about something else. No big deal. The race stuff, I've never really got into too much race stuff on stage. So I feel like it's working less and less coming from a white guy. So I've always pretty much stayed away from it. I have a couple of jokes here and there, but I just know now it's like, all right, I don't need to do that.
Do you feel like white guy comics can get away with less, or that it's more strict, like the guidelines are sort of, the boundaries are stricter for white guys than they are for any other group of
Yeah,
comics?
yeah, but not when you're playing out in the middle of the country or anywhere. Like even, I've been doing shows in New York and they still laugh at the shit. You know what I mean? Like it really hasn't changed where they're super sensitive about
Yeah.
it. So I haven't. And then when you just go travel around doing stand up, people that come to the club, they know what they're coming for most of the time. They research you. So there's no one walking out. They're not getting mad. Even though I'm a white guy, I don't, women aren't yelling at me. How could you make fun of women, and that joke or whatever. So I'm not getting any of that.
Good. All right. That's good. Yeah. Because it really blows my mind, like how many people will come to shows and they won't be ready to laugh, or they just want to like make a scene of like being like, they think they're somehow better than being entertained.
Well, the media just keeps pounding that away that everybody's offended by everything. And then you go out there and you tell these jokes and like the crowd loves it. Like the joke that you would think they would be offended by
Mm-hmm.
and you would lose the room is the one they laugh at the hardest. And you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? So I just never listen to that bullshit. They're just putting that out there that everyone's offended and they can't believe it. And people aren't. They just want to go out and have a few laughs, have a few drinks, go to a comedy club. That's
Yeah.
it. But there's no agenda coming in. Like I'm going to write down any jokes that they say that are mean, any of that shit.
And it really sucks because there really are way more people who want to have a good time, who want to have a few drinks, like you said, forget about their day, their problems, whatever. And like it sounds so like corny, but it's like people need comedy so much more now than when things were good. Because it's like we need distractions, like we need the sports to be back, we need comedy to be fully back, like do more discount shows or whatever. But to just put up so many more barriers to people enjoying themselves during this really hard, shitty time is it seems pretty cruel.
Yeah, you just know not to play to that crowd. Like corporate shows were always tough to do. You did an office party, like a corporate office party, hired a comedian. It's going to be brutal. It's
Oh
going to
my
be super
God.
tough,
Mhm.
but that's always been the case. And then the colleges too. So, but the rest of the country is not like that. The rest of
Yeah.
the world, that the comedy clubs, the media is trying to portray it like you have to do like you're doing a corporate show, or people
Yeah.
are going to walk out and you're not going to get paid, or they're going to be offended, and that's not happening at all.
It is so scary. Like as a comic, you could be like one joke away from not getting paid. Like how many other jobs are
Right.
like that? Like even when you're a doctor and you do malpractice, I feel like you still get paid.
Yeah, and most people aren't. I have 24 family members in my family with niece, nephews, brothers, and sisters, and 2 of them are on Twitter out of 24. Most
That's
people
pretty
are not
good.
on. There's only 20% of people in the world that are on Twitter, and only 10% really engaged. At least these numbers.
Oh,
So 80%
wow.
of America is not even on Twitter. So when people go, you see what's going on Twitter? Like, no, 80% of people have no fucking clue.
Oh my God. I'm so
Something,
jealous.
yeah, but sometimes what will happen on Twitter is there'll be some fight or whatever like that, and then it'll hit the mainstream media. This on Twitter, they said this or whatever, so they'll get the news from that. But 4 people bitching on Twitter about Bill Burr's monologue, and then they try to make a story out of it because they read the comments. Oh, how could this guy be on stage? And then they make a story. Oh my God, look at all these people offended. It was fucking 4 people that wrote on Twitter, and all the fucking babies on Twitter are all a bunch of babies.
That is such a good point, Jim, because it's like you have all these, like, I guess they're mostly younger writers for these different news outlets or like internet news channels or whatever. And that's the thing. It's like if they're just in their little echo chamber of Twitter, like, right, most of the world, most of the country, like probably not on Twitter, probably doesn't give a fuck. They're just trying to like work and provide and get through the day. But if they're so focused on like little Twitter drama, right, like the few people that were offended by Bill Burr's monologue on SNL, and that's the thing, is like they'll pick out the comments and they'll make news out of it. Like they will write articles based on this like tiny little thing,
Yeah.
which amplifies it and makes it seem like it's a problem when really it's not.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So if you don't listen, it was almost like when that it was the first Monday night football game. They actually had people in the stands, and I don't know if it was Texas or Kansas City, and the football players did this whole bullshit in the middle of the field where unity and
Were they
one of the
kneeling or something, or like,
yeah, some
yeah,
bullshit, and the fans started booing them because there's been no fans
they
for these
started
sports
booing
teams.
them?
Yeah, they started booing them because, like, look, we don't want this bullshit. Just fucking play the game.
Wow.
So the players afterwards go, I can't believe they booed. I was shocked because all these teams have been playing with no fans, so they could pull a shit. They could do whatever. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
whatever they want to do. But once the fans come back, and some fans were there, and they booed them, and they couldn't believe it because you're believing what's on fucking Twitter. And the
Mm-hmm.
real people are in the stand go, hey, I just paid fucking $300 for a ticket. I'm
Yep.
risking my life out here going to a fucking game.
Yeah, that's how bad I need to see this. I
Yeah,
need
I don't need to
sports.
see this bullshit. Just fucking play the game.
That's so telling. And like the players are probably like, oh, we thought we should just be pandering to our corporate
And
sponsors.
the
And
players don't give a shit. They don't. They just see what everybody else is doing, and they go, "I got to do this too."
they
They
just
don't give
do
a
what they're
fuck.
told, you think, when it comes to
Yeah,
that stuff?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. They don't. They don't believe in that shit. Most of them.
Right. Because they're all doing really, again, they're in the above the everybody else group, like the politicians and news people. Like their jobs are fine. Like they're not starving, they still have their jobs. So it's like they kind of
Yeah.
don't care. And that's great. That's so refreshing. And then real people, real fans get in there and they're like, no, we don't we don't want to see this
Yeah,
at
it's like
all.
enough. We see it everywhere. You know what I mean? Like when I walk into a sports bar or something like that, I see CNN and MSNBC on Foxes. I'm like, I don't want this. I want to get away from it. And that's
Yeah.
what people do. They want to get away from it.
It's too much. I mean, like,
Someone
yeah.
made a good point. Like, do you ever see that? If you go to a movie theater, it's a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. Does Tom Cruise come out before the movie and give a speech on fucking, racism or something like that,
Oh,
and kneel
God.
before the fucking movie? Imagine how mad people would be. Like, I just fucking came here to see some car crashes. I
Yeah.
want to see him
Yeah.
climb a building. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to see this when I'm here. I
Yeah. I
want
want
to
to see
escape for
him.
2
I
hours.
want to see him break his leg against a building in real time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and people would be mad. You know what I mean? Anyone that goes to see some science fiction or Star Wars, shit that's not real, they just want to live in their fantasy world for 2 hours.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that? Like, it does seem like there's less and less places to go for an escape. And I remember like one of the only colleges I performed at, and I might have been only like 26 or 27 years old when I did a college, but like to me, I felt so far away from these kids. Like I was like in age, we're not that different, but I was like really struggling. I was just like racking my brain, like what jokes are going to work on this crowd, because they just, I don't know, like college students are not really people yet. They're really hard to entertain. They haven't lived much of life. And I mean, college is just a hard time you're supposed to be like studying, figuring out what you want to do with your life. It's like, I don't know, maybe we need to not be doing comedy shows for college kids. Like they don't even know who they are yet, let alone what they're going to laugh at. It's I don't know. It wasn't
That's why
fun.
they say, man, I wish, you get a younger crowd. I go, I want an older crowd because the older crowd has lived and they just want to have a few laughs.
Yeah.
It's the younger crowd that might get offended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd rather them older when they go, oh, man, there's a lot of old people out there. I'm like, good.
Yeah. Old people are way better. They're not going to like flip out. Yeah. If you say chick, I still can't believe that happened. That's crazy. They'll be like, no, you can say chink and we're fine with it. Right, go nuts. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. How did that metal show like come together? Was it like all of your, were you all kind of doing stand up? I mean, what was the inspiration there? Like, I know you guys all love metal and like rock and roll, but how was it born?
Yeah, me and Don were doing gigs together, and we'd drive home on Friday night, like local gigs. And Eddie Trunk was on a Q104, is a classic rock station in New York on Friday nights. And he'd just have a heavy metal show for like 4 hours. And we'd be driving home from these gigs like, who is this guy, man? He plays the same music we like. We're surprised we never met him. And he was from Jersey and stuff. We just didn't, he lived a different, like an hour away from where we grew up. And then we ran into him one time at a concert. He's like, oh, man, come up on our show. You guys are comics? I like comics. Jim Brewer was already going up there, and shit. He goes, I love comics coming on the show. We'll talk music and whatever. So we go up, and then he's like, hey, he already worked at VH1. He had a talk show there. He goes, I'm going to pitch this show. It's going to be like the Tonight Show for AC/DC fans. And he pitched it, and we got a pilot. And then, they liked it, and we were on for freaking, 7 years and 140 episodes. It was great.
Wow. Do you remember what concert you met him at?
No, it was probably, I don't remember which one it was. We see so many, but yeah, we saw him. I go, there he is. And we went up to him. We go, dude, we listen to your show. We're comics, and we like the same music and all that shit. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's really cool to meet like somebody from like a different kind of like world, but then it all works.
Yeah, and we're like best friends. We've only known Eddie, me and Don, since like 2007 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But we all still hang out all the time and stuff like that, and it's great.
Yeah, isn't most of the concerts are not happening even at all. I think aren't comedy shows happening a little bit more than concerts at this point? Like, are there any kind of secret concerts kind of going on the way that there are secret comedy shows?
I've seen a couple of outdoor shows. There's an outdoor venue. I just opened for Bill Burr recently at this outdoor venue in Jersey. It holds like 250 people. They got a stage out there, and it's, and they set up seating. I saw a band do an acoustic set there a couple of weeks before. But no, most of the bands aren't even doing, there's a few doing drive-in shows here or there, but I think there's definitely more comedy going than bands.
Yeah.
Because, when you go into a rock club, that holds 200 people and they can only have 50 or 100 or whatever like that, it's tough. People want to be right in the front. I don't see them, when they listen to music, friggin' not staying 6 feet apart. So a comedy show, people sit down at a table and they could spread the tables out. So.
Yeah. Wow. So when you opened for Bill Burr, was he working on his SNL set at the time?
I saw the set and I go, Bill, that's what you're doing? I go, man, you're going to cause some controversy. I saw it. Wow. I saw him working on it every night. He goes, I got to do this 8 minutes clean up front or whatever. I'm like, Bill, that's what he goes, yeah. I go, oh man, they're going to go crazy. He's like, good.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I knew it. I told him a week before. I go, Bill, wait till I go, people are going to go crazy over this.
So were you saying like, oh, maybe he should watch a couple of the jokes, or you just...
No, I encourage. No,
you're like, do all. It. Yeah.
I love that he was doing that. And I love Bill because he doesn't give a shit either.
Yeah, that's great. We need more people like that.
Stuff that he says on stage is just great. You know what I mean? It's inspiring. It really is.
Yeah.
That he's made it this far, and and he's almost, he's kind of in Hollywood, and he doesn't give a fuck.
But he's not a Hollywood type at all.
He's not a Hollywood type at all. But he'll get some roles here and there. He's not willing to play the game. He just does it his way. And he always said, I remember in interviews, like, look, I always got stand-up to fall back on, and I love doing stand-up. And that's always been my motto. People are like, what do you like the most? I'm like, I love doing stand-up. I love going to a club. I did it like a 5-minute set in front of Joey Diaz.
Wow.
he's doing a residency at Uncle Vinny's the whole month. And just went up and did 5 minutes last night just to work on. I just love getting up.
Oh, right, because Joey Diaz just moved to Jersey. He's part of this LA exodus. And, that's cool that he's got like a regular gig at Uncle Vinny's. That makes perfect sense. Like that club and his comedic voice.
And he's great. And he doesn't give a shit either.
Mm-hmm. That's
when
great.
they tried to get him in trouble a while back,
I remember that.
Wow. Over a joke that he said on a podcast in 2011. And instead of going, hey, that didn't really happen, whatever, he goes, oh, you didn't like that video? How about this one? And then he tweets out a video of a story about him fucking a girl with one leg. That's how he fought back. I'm like, I love this guy.
That's the best way to do it. It's like you can't apologize, because if you do apologize, it's never going to be good enough. They don't actually want an apology. They want you destroyed. They want you to just, I don't know, stop making anything. And I love that just like fuck you attitude, because it's right. It's just, they don't even want an apology. You just have to lean into it even harder. And it's good to see like Joey Diaz and Bill Burr be good examples of like, okay, they can kind of make it in Hollywood, but they don't have to sell their soul, and they don't have to change who they are. Yeah. It like gives me hope. It gives me hope for like the future, like the new Hollywood. Because I just feel like it's, people are tired of it. Like people, I think, have been slowly getting more and more fed up with celebrity and celebrity culture. And, but I would still like open a magazine and be like, okay, like that's nice. Like she's in a Chanel dress. But now it's like this thing just came out, like Gal Gadot apologizing for her Imagine video. That like they each sang a line of the Imagine song.
One of the worst things I've ever seen.
So here she is like a few months later being like, oh, I guess it didn't resonate. It's like, no, it bombed and you're so out of touch. And like all you celebrities are kind of irrelevant, and you're like the politicians, you don't understand the people that you're supposed to entertain or represent.
Yeah, and the new one about, them getting naked to tell you to vote. Yeah, that really worked. I've been seeing lines everywhere. That's all it took. People didn't know, what I mean? Thanks for telling me to vote. The NBA's trying to do that, but wearing vote shirts. Meanwhile, they did a survey and only 20% of them vote. Okay, good.
Wait, 20% of the NBA votes?
Only 20% of the NBA players vote. And then they sat out a game, and they said, listen, until you put polling where you can vote at the stadiums where we play, the arenas, we want polling stations there. So you're allowed to vote there, and we're not going to play. And like, okay. But meanwhile, you have to live there. Like I can't, if I live in San Diego, I can't go to the Staples Center and vote because I don't live in that fucking town. Yeah. So how many people are going there?
It's insane. It's like,
you know what I mean? Like, a place out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma, wherever the Oklahoma team plays, is a fucking, like the Meadowlands. Like, who the fuck no one lives there. So how many people are going to go vote there? It's so stupid.
It is so stupid. It's like, look, if you can get your ass to the DMV to like renew your license or whatever, It's like you can just physically go and walk to go vote. Like that's.
But it's funny how the celebrities say to vote. But if you're gonna go, okay, I'm gonna register to vote, but I like Donald Trump. Is that okay? I think they would go, no. Don't
vote like that. Not like that.
Not like that. No, we don't want that. No. So I have a feeling they would say that. They don't just say vote for whoever you want.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. No, you're not supposed to do that. We're telling you to vote and to vote one way, not the other way. Don't register that.
We need to do more videos. We need to do more PSAs. They don't understand. They're not listening. Right, because it's never just vote. It's always like, vote, especially with the thing that came out with the naked ballots. And it's like, first of all, it's nobody you want to see naked. Not one person in that video. I was like, oh, great. I needed to see this. Good.
The thing is, like, if tomorrow Hollywood became Republican and it was the right way, to like Trump, they'd all like Trump.
Oh yeah,
they're just take whatever they need. What do I have to do? Okay, so this person's running Hollywood, so I have to be a Democrat. Okay, and I have to say this and then okay, you know what I mean? But tomorrow, if it changed, they would all change on a dime because they don't really have any opinion on it. All the celebrities, like when the post office, there was that whole thing a few weeks ago.
Trump said,
Trump is ruined. Celebrities like, support the post office. I'm like,
what?
When's the last time Gwyneth Paltrow or fucking whoever went to a post office?
Yeah. Like, when's the last time you bought a stamp?
Yeah, that's what you do. I got to go mail a fucking box to my manager of DVDs right as soon as I'm done with this. I got to go to the fucking post office.
Yeah.
You haven't been there in 40 years. But yeah, support them. Okay.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be getting so fired up about the post office, but like you're right. It's like these people haven't even been to a
They don't know what they're talking about.
they're not doing their own laundry anymore. So it's like, how can we
And they
expect?
know it's not really going to affect their career, like if they take the left side, you know what I mean? So that's why they do it. If they thought it
Yeah.
would affect their career, they wouldn't do it. I respect someone like Jareen Garofalo that did it years ago and took chances. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And was out there, and people gave her a lot of shit, and it probably affected her career. But she didn't care. I respect someone like that did that in the 90s when you weren't supposed to do that, where you're supposed to keep your political views to yourself.
She really was so edgy. She was like one of the few voices that was like really out there and passionate about it. And now it's like the least edgy, least
I
brave.
know, and now she doesn't even talk about it. She's like, "Please, I already did that." She looks at these. You're all fucking hacks.
She's like, yeah, she's burnt out. She's like, I've said all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. It's like they're taking the safe route. They're not. And you also think about all the celebrities and famous people that are quiet right now, and you're like, oh, they are the ones that are supporting Trump. Like you're not hearing as vocal of support, but to just keep in mind, okay, the lack of certain people shitting on Trump is actually
But a lot of
support.
celebrities just like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want shit. I just want to be an actor, whatever. I keep my political views to myself.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you who I'm voting for, and I don't need to put that out there. I just want to be an actor. So I respect that.
I do too.
Whoever
Yeah.
you want to vote for, that's fine. But don't, when you shove it in people's faces, they get mad. When they're basically calling you a fucking idiot, people get mad.
It's so strange how who you're voting for has to be everybody's business, and what team are you on? What side are you on? It's like when you go to the dentist, you're not like, oh wait, but hold on a second, who are you voting for before you fill this cavity? It's kind of weird how it like doesn't seem to matter or come up for certain people, but like anybody like us or anybody who's in the public eye, it's like, oh, what team are you on? Who are you voting for? I'm tired of it. I think most people are getting tired of it too. So maybe there'll be like a new Hollywood that's kind of birthed from all this. Like,
you realize that like if Biden wins, no comedians are going to be talking about politics. Because Trump will be off the radar, because they don't know anything about it.
What are they going to do? They're going to be
So
fucked.
what are they going to do? Are they going to be like, oh, I'm so glad Joe Biden passed that executive order about what they're not going to be, okay, good. I don't have to talk about that anymore because I don't really know anything about it.
He's not as interesting or funny
about it at all. They're not going to be like, I love what Joe Biden just did. He passed that law where they don't give a shit.
Yeah, they will have one already. It's kind of like, oh man, like I was reading this thing. What's her name? She's doing the Kamala Harris impression for SNL right now. What the fuck is
Maya Rudolph or whatever.
Maya Rudolph. And she was being interviewed. I don't know if it was Variety or another magazine. They were like, oh, you're doing this Kamala Harris impression for SNL. Like, what was your process like? Or what's the most important part of you doing this impression? And her answer was not be funny, not do the best job. It was literally like, I do whatever I can to help her win. That was her response. It had nothing to do with comedy. And I was like, I read that. I was so disgusted. I was like, ugh.
No, I saw the clip of Jim Carrey doing Joe Biden opening week. And he made like a cool guy with sunglasses on, like he was cool. I'm like, Joe Biden, you can call him he is not cool.
No.
There's nothing cool about Joe Biden. That's how Jim Carrey played him. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, they're really like treating him with kid gloves. They're not critical at all. And I really think, I think all these lefty comics are going to be like, oh God, they'll have nothing to talk about.
They won't. They'll move on. It won't even be on their radar anymore.
Yeah, because Trump is funny. Like he has done so much just for his own access to the people through Twitter is like unprecedented and kind of amazing in that way. I mean, also he's funny and
when he did that dance the other day, it made me laugh. He's the Macho Man. He was dancing. I'm so fucking.
It's just like old white guy at a wedding dance, and you're like, oh right, I miss weddings. Yeah, that's kind of who I feel. I mean, I was at a place where I was like, ugh, not another wedding. But now I'm like, oh, I miss them, and I feel sad for the people who had to cancel theirs and like lose all their money. And
yeah, my nephew did. I go, good. That gives you more time to decide. You know what I mean? Gives you another 9 months.
Yeah, now you can really think about it. It's the universe is saying think long and hard. Yeah. I don't know. But you're married though, right, Jim?
No, I'm divorced.
Oh, shoot. Oops.
That's all right.
I was going to be like, how's your relationship in the pandemic?
No, I've been divorced. Yeah. No, I'm a single dad. I got a 10-year-old boy.
Oh.
So, no, it's great. We hang out all the time. It's good. We get a great relationship.
Yeah, 10 is it's a fun age. They're like people. They're becoming kids are people.
Yeah, he's like a little buddy to hang out with. It's great.
Aw, that's cute. Have you been getting any like quarantine tail or any kind of
it's
not risking it?
Everyone's afraid, especially in Jersey. They're afraid to,
Yeah.
No, it's been tough.
It's hard out there. Yeah, you just gotta keep the socks nearby. I guess it's a hard time.
That definitely. It's. I say it's like the Great Depression of fucking for men. Yeah, I said we just got over the Me Too movement, and now we got coronavirus. And then all the white male comics are trying to bring down. I go, we're in a bad spot.
There's a lot of people, a lot of pent up loads, in this country. Yeah. They gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
I love it. Speaking of loads now, Jim, where can people find you, follow you, come see you in person, all that good stuff?
Just my website, jimflorentine.com. I do the podcast on Barstool every Monday and Thursday. Everybody is awful, wherever you get podcasts. And then I'll be in Chicago area next week. Zanies at Rosemont, Illinois on Thursday, October 22nd, October 23rd, McHenry Theater in McHenry, Illinois, 2 shows that night. And then Uncle Vinny's November 6th and 7 in Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
Uncle Vinny's is great. I really like that room. It's like,
I was there, they can sell 40 tickets. It's 25%.
Yeah.
So it's good.
It's cool. And they have a liquor store right next door. So you can just like, they're BYOB, but like, it's good. There's something like nice and casual about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good shit. Good shit, Jim. Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
Doing great. Good things. I can't wait for the new season of Crank Yankers. I hope they redo that.
At some point. Yeah, and I'll see you around doing stand up. I'm sure we'll be on some gig somewhere under a tree or
under a tree. Yeah.
Out in the parking lot.
Yelling into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.